Welcome back to Across the Board here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. We always try to bring you the greatest bands that have been around for years and ones that are just now popping up but have been great for years. One of those bands has got to be one of the best alt electronic bands coming up these days in Blondfire, and Bruce Driscoll is with us right now. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Big fan. Actually heard about you guys through Pandora and satellite radio and some of those places, that we're getting more exposure to artists these days, and we're starting to play you here on Hawk Radio as well. So, Where the Kids Are is obviously the new big hit. I heard it immediately and fell in love with it off Young Heart. And you basically, you and your sister are the entire band as far as the writing, as far as I understand. Is that correct?
Writing and mostly recording as well.
Okay.
We record almost everything ourselves, including drums, bass, guitar. And, in the mixing stages of the album, we brought in our live drummer to put some tracks on top to beef it up, and also the live guitar player, Steve Stout, to play some guitars, all about just making it bigger, in the mixing stages. But when we're initially tracking, and most demos, and even some of the early stuff we released, that was us just playing everything and mixing it ourselves.
Okay. Now, a lot of bands that just play live instruments, just play a guitar or drums, in the recording process, they may try all kinds of different techniques like swinging a room mic around in a circle to see what that sounds like, or putting a guitar cabinet in a closet to get a reverb out of that. A part of your music is the electronic in itself. How do you look for different techniques in that? I mean, just changing things in the software itself, or how do you change that?
My miking techniques are very simple,
Okay.
I guess I would say, straightforward. In terms of electronic stuff, I definitely try to find sounds I haven't heard before, especially for some of the synth leads. And a big thing for me is taking a sound that might be cheesy, but distorting it a little bit and giving it a vibe, because then you're getting a sound that someone else might not use, but all of a sudden you have this this cool sounding thing because it's a little more aggressive with the distortion. And there's some plugins I use to do that stuff, but that's kind of a lot of what I do. And playing with reverbs is a big thing for me, and ambiences, making things sound like they all have their own space. I also really like minimal production, only putting in what is essential.
Okay.
I feel, for the track, finding the right beat that goes with the perfect bass line for that beat, goes with the right keyboard, and then, one or two guitar tracks and the vocals, and that's it.
And not clouding it with extra stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I just found I'm very about everything that goes in. I try. I don't know if I succeed, but I try to make it memorable. The Beatles were the experts at that. Ringo's drum beats were even catchy, and when George Harrison played, you were going to remember what he played because it was simple and it was this little melody. I really gravitate to production that's like that.
For sure. Absolutely. And then I would imagine it's easier to recreate live as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, live we do have some backing tracks because we don't have a live keyboard player, which makes it difficult or whatever for that. But, it works. It works, and it's cheaper, and the keyboard player never messes up, really.
Never complains. All right, yeah, that's a good point.
Never complains. Yeah, there's no per diems for that member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mixer on this, Wally, actually worked with Folk Implosion, with Gorillaz, with Muse. Now, all of those bands have an electronic form to them, especially Gorillaz and Muse in sort of half of their songs. How did that impact what you brought to the table and then what Wally brought to the table?
Wally's great because he gets what we're going for, and I think that's his main strength is when he hears a band, he gets what they're aspiring to sound like. He's like, oh, this is this song, it sounds great as it is, but let's do this and it'll even sound better. The drums maybe could be warmer or this or that. He has a good ear sonically for just picking out, what's not working or what could be working better.
Mm-hmm.
And he really, added a lot, listening to my rough mixes and then to his, he definitely beat them. They sound great.
So picking a mixer, an engineer, a producer is pretty much just as important as picking other members of the band, correct?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, every element, even mastering, we just had Greg Catby master our EP, Where the Kids Are, that's coming out here soon.
Mm-hmm.
And, for him, come on board, we were excited. Had a great record. He's a legend, so.
here on Across the Board with E, and I'm talking with Bruce Driscoll, half of Blondfire, with his sister Erica. And I love all of the music. Where the Kids Are, like we said, it's the video that's out. It's the big song right now. But everything you have that I've heard so far, quality throughout every song. So you're not a one-hit wonder, which is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but your influences I've read are bands like the Smiths, The Cure, New Order, a lot of bands like 80s synth and that sort of thing. And it's crazy because a lot of those bands, even Depeche Mode and Pet Shop Boys, all those bands are still around and actually making albums. What do you think is the secret to their longevity, and how do you plan on incorporating that into your career?
I think the secret to their longevity is just it's always been about songs, good songs.
Mm-hmm.
Always, it's not like, they were a part of, their time because, synthesizers were coming out and, reverb guitars, jangly guitars. That was their sound of the time. But those things just kind of, speak to the human spirit. I think that's why 80s music has a long-lasting impact. I think, one thing, it wasn't very pretentious. It was fun, which I think a lot of modern music lacks. Just kind of like a let's have a good time, enjoy life kind of thing, and that's something we definitely incorporate. And then, they sing about universal themes too, love and, loss, sadness, things that speak to the human soul. And that's definitely what we try to put into our lyrics, themes like youth and things that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, and a lot of your music is new, but I really feel that I could listen to those songs in 10 years and still feel the same way, still have that emotion come through and if I need it to, just pep me up at that time of my life. So, keep up the good work.
That's awesome.
Oh, keep up the good work for sure, man. I'll tell you. And like you said, there's a lot of good music out there, but really well-written songs are few and far between, I think, so it's nice to know you guys are out there and doing it great. You play a little bit of everything, and your parents, your dad played guitar, your mom played, the piano, but you play what? Piano, guitar, drums, bass, keyboards, everything. Do you still continue to practice all of those things?
Well, I started on piano and kind of dabbled in that.
Mm-hmm.
At first. I wasn't super in love with the piano at first. The drums were my first passion. I took lessons in those, but I never got to a point where I was like, I'm a great drummer. You know what I mean? I got to the point where like, oh, I can come up with some cool beats, but I can't, I can kind of play them, but I wouldn't want to play drums live because I don't know, it's just not, I don't feel like the drums are in me. Like I can come up with parts, but guitar, as soon as I picked it up, I was like, oh, I can do this. And I slept with it. It's not like I would buy a guitar and I would like sleep with my guitar, and like that was my thing. I was, since I was like a little kid. So I played that guitar so much that even if I like neglect it for a month, I can come back and I don't feel like I've lost any, technical abilities. But
wow.
I'm constantly trying to learn new instruments. Like I just, in LA here, you spend a lot of time in your car. So I bought a harmonica and I was driving around playing the harmonica while I drive.
Nice.
I don't know how safe that is, but it works. That was one of my gripes. Like I'm always in my car here, but if you use the time constructively, it's actually nice.
That's really good thinking. I was just out in L.A. About a month ago, and just sat in traffic forever. And, it was, that's a good point. I just kind of sat there, but I should learn an instrument. That's great. Play the recorder.
I tried to do it with French horn, but it was a little too big.
Need a convertible so you can play the tuba or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so you said the guitar. Do you still have the same guitar that you had when you were young?
Oh, yeah. As a musician, we've been doing this a long time. We've gone through our ups and downs, like, oh, this month I need rent money. Oh, no, I need to sell stuff. And that's kind of been like a pattern that my life has kind of been doing for a really long time. But I could never bring myself to sell my very first guitar, which is an Epiphone Sorrento. It's
nice.
Like this Pelham blue, kind of metallic looking, and I have an Elvis sticker on it, and I could never sell it.
That's awesome. And still holds up. Yeah, that's the thing too. And I imagine the tone changes with you playing the instrument. The instrument itself over the years probably changes and gets warmer and becomes more of what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a $600 guitar, which in grand scheme of guitar things, it's pretty cheap.
Right.
I took it to Guitar Center because one of the jacks was a little messed up, and I had it repaired just the other day. And the guy was, when I came to pick it up, he's like, "I played your guitar for an hour. I love this guitar."
Nice.
He's like, the price doesn't matter. This guitar is amazing. like I could tell he was being genuine too, and it wasn't some kind of like thing. I just think I spent a lot of time with it, and the wood's probably nice, and at this point worn in nice. It does feel really nice to play that guitar.
That's awesome. And I've never tried. I'm actually learning to play both guitar and bass at the same time right now. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and finding time to actually sit down and practice is the hardest part. But I haven't tried that. I've heard a lot of people actually lay down, like, put the guitar in the bed and everything like that. So maybe I'll have to try that and see if that works. It's just a practice right now. The A chord has always been trouble for me, trying to fit my fingers in there and that kind of thing. So, any tips on that?
Sorry, the bar chord is the one that hung me up for it. Like I couldn't get it for the longest time.
Yeah, I've got buzzing strings, or just a thump in there. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's taking time. But talk about what's coming up for you guys. I know you have a lot of touring in the next. You're doing CMJ, and you've got a lot of other big tours coming up. When are you working on the next album, and what can we expect from you in the near future here?
Well, we're playing shows. We're doing CMJ, like you said, just keeping busy, trying to play as many things as we can. And, the support at radio has been huge, so we're, trying to make sure we show how appreciative we are to stations like you for playing us, because it's huge,
Again, as long as there's quality music out there, we will play it for sure. And you guys are based out of L.A. now, right? But you grew up in Michigan, so it's quite a change of weather, huh?
Oh, yeah, I'm not hating it, I'll tell you that much.
I would imagine, absolutely. They say that the opportunities in LA and New York and Nashville, depending on what type of artist you are so you have many more opportunities and you get to work with different mixers and everything. Talk about the difference between trying to grow as a band and as an established artist in Michigan versus LA.
I thank Michigan for my ability to play my instrument,
right?
Because it's so cold in the winter, and it's very conducive to sitting inside and getting a hobby. So I think if I hadn't been in Michigan, if I'd grown up in California, I'm sure there are many California musicians who, just learn it because they love it and it doesn't matter about that. But for me, it was very like a lot of bands are in Michigan. I meet a lot of bands from Michigan,
right?
And I just feel like, that part of it, I'm glad I was there for that, because that was great. And there is a music scene in Michigan, things like that. But in terms of meeting with a label and the different people you could just come across going out to a bar at night, at LA wins. I lived in New York for 8 years too, but still, I think LA wins for some reason. There's in terms of, I think it's more like the attitude.
Okay.
I think in LA, people are still kind of optimistic when it comes to music. They're like, yeah, let's go see bands, and yeah, we'll listen to your music. Yeah, we'll put you on a radio station. It's more of that attitude, whereas
right.
New York's like, oh, is that cool or not? I don't know. A little bit, and to a certain extent, some of the LA attitude might be a little bit, I don't know, some of it might just be night talk, but at the same time, you still get further, I think, as a result of the night talk. That's just my impression.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I know, I guess in both places, I guess it's more sort of spread out in L.A., but you can walk by tons of clubs and hear a great band every single night in New York or L.A. and a lot of those bands. So I'm sure it's nice to be introduced to all of that music as well. Let's talk about the video for Where the Kids Are. Where did that idea come from? You have the panda cowboy, and apparently we learned that pandas actually bleed in candy mints and glitter. But crazy video, where did that come from?
Well, we met with a friend of ours, this French director, Aurélien Levitin, who lives here in Los Angeles, and we wanted to have him do a video initially for a song of ours called Young Heart.
Okay.
But then he heard Where the Kids Are, and he's like, no, I'm doing that one. I'm directing that one. I want to do that one. We're like, okay, and he's like, I got this idea. This little kid, like my nephew, he could be dressed up as an Indian, and he's hunting this panda, and then he catches it, and then he cuts it open, and blood goes everywhere. And we're like, okay, that sounds cool.
Well, weed is legal in California, so
yeah, we got a little worried that it might be a little too violent with the blood and stuff. So I think a couple people around the same time had the idea to do candy or glitter or something for blood. So we switched that out, and then the video was done, and we felt kind of like the kid was just kind of looking around, and he didn't know what for the video, so we added on the backstory that he was avenging his parents.
Right.
So we tagged that on. But yeah, that was cool. That video cost us probably about $1,000, and we had a great group of people working on it.
Yeah, wow. Was that shot out in L.A. or?
Yeah, shot at Vasquez Rocks, which is where they shot a lot of old Star Trek episodes. Kind of looks like Mars.
Ah, okay, cool. I drove to, when I was out in L.A., like I said, a month ago, I drove up to Bakersfield for some business up there, and it's kind of like Mars on the way to Bakersfield. I'll tell you. There's not a lot there, just desert and oil fields. But in any case, so say you know that you only have, the apocalypse is coming or something, and you have 10 to 15 minutes left to live. What is the last song that you would want to hear? And you can hear it or perform it, yours or anybody else's, but the last song that you ever get to hear or perform, what is it?
I would have to say There's a Light That Never Goes Out by the Smiths. And I don't know if I get to say this, but I would like to have it performed by the Smiths.
You do get to say that. Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely would want to see that happen.
That's a good call. I've never met Morrissey. We've never had a chance to interview him. I don't know what he's like, but obviously he's one of the... he's an enigma amongst music. Everybody either loves Morrissey or hates Morrissey, so that's an interesting choice.
He came to our show once years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that for me, I was like
nerve-wracking.
I didn't know he was there until I got off, and then when our manager at the time told me, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
It was fun. I was like, I texted everyone I know. I was like, Morrissey just watched me play. Oh my God, I'm gonna die.
So is that the ultimate for you? I mean, what will you consider success for you and your sister, for Blondfire, for you as a human? What is success to you?
I mean, for me, I'm a man of really simple pleasures. I just like writing songs with people, collaborating and producing and releasing things. And if I'm able to sustain myself doing that, then I'm successful. I don't have huge aspirations of, I should maybe, of selling like millions of records. But I mean, I'm pretty simple. Like for me, if 1,000 people buy it and they're in love with it, then I'm happy, at the same time. So I just want to, keep doing what I'm doing, and Erica does too, I'm sure. So
what can people expect from your live show? I mean, we know that artists really don't make a ton of money these days, especially if they're with a label, really, from album sales. You kind of make more of your money through merch sales at shows and tickets to shows. So what can people expect from a live Blondfire show?
My Blondfire show, I like I said about the other band, like the bands in the 80s, our thing is just the songs. We're obviously the putting on a performance is important to us, but we want to sound as best we can, and we want to bring the songs across better than they are on the record live. That's what I hope people will take away from the show, that they came and heard it, or they were like, wow, that song sounds even better than the recording. That's our main thing. Of course we'll throw some more things in along the way, more spectacle kind of things, but right now at the beginning, on these tour, in support of what we're doing, we're really just kind of going for making the song sound as best as we can. Yeah,
it's the mark of a good band. If you hear them live and they sound much better, that's incredible right there. That's actual quality. That means the band is good, not just the producer or the mixer at that point, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you guys are out there everywhere on Tumblr, blondfiremusic.tumblr.com. You're out on Facebook, all of the normal sites as well. Let me ask you this. I know before you guys used to be called Astaire, like way back in the day, correct? Is there any music out under that name as well?
Yes, our first EP is still available under that name. I think we released it in 2004. But yeah, we had some issues. We left it up, for us. It was kind of like, we didn't ever really want to change the name, and Blondfire was kind of like a big letdown when we had to change that. So for us, whatever. Now we're used to it. Now we're like, we were called Astaire, weren't we? But yeah, we still have our first EP out, which hopefully if you listen to that, you can hear our growth or something over the last few years.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to get a copy of that because I haven't heard that yet. So excited to hear you guys, and I'm really excited as well as the Colonel, who's not here today, my co-host, but really excited to hear what comes from you guys in the future as well. Because again, this is the first we've heard from you. Love everything so far. So look forward to everything in the future as well. Bruce, we appreciate it. And again, blondfiremusic.tumblr.com. They're out on Facebook. They are everywhere. Go see them live and tell them you heard about them here on Across the Board on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com.